base as you grab your 4th and your 5th. So right now I'm obviously at a very, very large advantage. As you guys can see, 145 over 116. It's going to come down to Dopa's DTs here to get him back into this game, and it looks like he is going to be bringing in 2 into my gold, and it looks like 2 more going into my back expansion towards the natural. So this is actually pretty bad right now, as I'm throwing away the advantage that I had. And of course, as you guys can see, morphing in these overseers just takes years. And of course, the DTs can outrun the overseers and get out of the way. So it looks like over at the natural, these DTs were doing quite a bit of damage as well. And those Dark Templars are actually getting Dopa right back into this game. One more DT here. This is the one that was originally at the gold. Going into my back expo, getting more kills, has 10, 11, make it 12. And those DTs really just pulled Dopa right back into this game, and for 2 reasons. The Dark Templars forced me to scramble my army, forced me to lose attention on macro, and of course in that entire time I have to reproduce all my drones. So if we look at my production tab, majority of my production now is pretty much drones. As you guys can see, there are 8 drones on the way. So my army size is not increasing, and Dopa now actually has an avenue to make an attack. And of course, during that DT harass, he safely secures his 3rd expo for the first time in the entire game. So this is actually pretty deadly, because this attack has the potential to do a lot of damage. He's actually got somewhat even army size to me. It looks like, though, with my roaches, I am going to be able to use the roach range and the speed on the creep to snipe out these immortals. And this is what you want to do if you're a Zerg. Snipe out those immortals. But look at this. The attack, actually a feign from Dopa. I didn't actually notice this until watching the replay. He's actually sending DTs to almost every single expansion. And he is just working my drone line, killing off so many drones, and that attack a complete feign maneuver, and that's really, really brilliant Protoss play. And take a tip from this: if you guys are a Protoss player and you guys have DTs in the mix, you know, make an attack and then fall back. You never have to commit to a Zerg army, unless of course he's got fungal growth and he locks you down, but you can obviously make an attack, fall back, send some DTs to do some sneaky Dark Templar play, and that can be very, very difficult to deal with. So it looks like right now, Dopa may actually be a little bit, he's ahead in harvesters. I've got extra hatcheries, but I'm obviously reproducing all of these drones to get my saturation going once again. And the Dark Templar play really just never stops. He's still got more DTs just roaming the map. And if you're in this position and you're a Zerg, and you don't have overseers already, towards the mid and late game, it's really smart to just get 2 spines and a spore at every single base. That's usually a very solid way to deal with Dark Templars. It looks like this DT actually somehow escaped the 2 spine spore combination. I think the spore crawler actually got sniped off there. And he's actually going to keep that DT in the back of my base. So these DTs are still doing damage to me, and this is really showing the effectiveness. If you're a Protoss player and you're playing against Zerg in the mid game, bring out Dark Shrine. It is super, super strong against Zergs. And as you guys can see, these overseers, really I just have a bunch of overseers, and they're just kind of chilling over my main army, but the Dark Templars have already done the damage that they needed to do. Now, if you guys look, I do have a Baneling's Nest here. We'll come back to that in a moment. It looks like Dopa will once again be making another attack, and this is so strong because he knows that I've been producing all drones to re-catch up in economy. I don't really have attacking units to deal with this, and he does have +3 weapons, so these units are so powerful. Now, with my roaches, what I need to do is focus down those Colossus first, and then focus down the Immortals. You always want to take the highest priority units out of the way, which are the Colossus, and then you want to deal with the Immortals. But Dopa's army just a little bit larger. That Dark Templar harass has really got him right back into this game, and it looks like he's going to be able to do so much damage with these Stalkers that were just alive the entire time. Didn't have to deal with the Roaches because the Roaches were focusing the Colossus and Immortals. And if we look at the production tab, I'm just in a lot of trouble. I'm trying to produce 20 Lings to deal with this. Can I hold on to my gold hatchery? If I lose this gold, it's going to be such big trouble for me. It looks like I'm barely gonna be able to do it. The Colossus trying to focus it down. It gets taken out. We're going to go ahead and switch over to my first-person player camera view. And you guys can see I'm just scrambling units, finally picking off that last Colossus. And I'm going to be able to clear the way. My hatchery just kind of survives the ordeal. And if we switch over to Dopa's point of view, he actually does have the gold expansion secured. So that entire attack designed to secure the gold expo. And now really it is anybody's game. It is completely even. It really, no one has an advantage. That last attack did so much damage to me. And of course, it allowed Dopa to secure his gold expo. Now he's got all his almost 80 harvesters split between the third and the gold expansion. Now, what I wanted to say was the reason why I got the Baneling's Nest is actually just as how Dark Templars are super effective against Protoss or against Zerg in the mid to late game, Banelings are surprisingly effective versus Protoss. Baneling drops, that is. You don't want to just have normal Banelings. So I notice I don't even have centrifugal hooks. I do have Overlord drop and Overlord speed researched. And so later on, I will be using Baneling drops to maximum effectiveness. At least that's my strategy. And I'm going to try to drop Banelings over the mineral line. And the best time to do that is when the Protoss player is completely preoccupied with some kind of massive battle. So as you guys can see, I do have my Overlords on the way right now. I also have Broodlords morphing out. My Hive technology is here. My Overlords, obviously you want to use the Shift Q style in order to maneuver the Overlords away from any kind of Protoss structures or units and then bring it around the backside. And it looks like Dopa is posturing to make an attack. I do have some decent creep spreads, so I should be able to deal with this. Looks like one more DT just doing some damage here. I'm bringing all my army units over, and here comes the Overlords with the Banelings. We're going to look at that income tab. Currently at 82 Harvesters, a lot of probes getting taken out right there by the Overlord drop. And if we look over to Dopa's view, he is now staring at his probes. He's just staring there like, no, my probes got taken out. So his DT is actually still alive, surprisingly. I finally brought my Overseer in there to take care of that. And it looks like, here's a nice little strategy you can use, is actually use the creep generation ability to prevent buildings from being built. But anyways, Dopa making an attack. He realized that he just lost a ton of probes. It's time to attack. But fortunately, I do have enough forces, I think, to deal with this. Nice force fields keeping my roaches out of the way. But here's another trick up the Zerg army sleeve. You can burrow your roaches and bring them underneath the force fields. And with that ability, you can get around the force field and then push the Protoss army back. I still have a couple of Broodlords alive. A lot of them actually got picked off in the initial battle. But I still have a lot of Broodlords. Looks like more force fields getting laid down. And unfortunately, this Overlord didn't have Banelings. It actually had Zerglings, so I'm going to drop a couple Zerglings into the mineral line. Why not? Do as much damage as I can. It looks like they may even be able to pick off the Colossus. And I may actually be able to kill off this Gold Nexus, which would be a huge bonus right now. Killing off this Gold Nexus would put me so far in the lead because I've got 5 bases. About 3 of them are mining, and Dopa will then be down to 1 mining base. There goes the gold. So after the Baneling drop, it is super effective. I'm able to kill off the gold hatchery. And now I have one of the strongest army compositions against Protoss in the late game. It is Roach Broodlord. This is very, very difficult for Protoss to deal with. And really the only thing Protoss can, well, there we go. The one thing Protoss can do is go for Stargate Void Rays. And that's exactly what Dopa is switching over to. He's saving up mass Void Rays. And obviously, Roaches and Broodlords cannot attack air. So this is a very powerful tech switch. And you guys might think that, it's not that effective. But in actuality, Void Rays, with their recent buff, do a lot of damage, even to small units. So this is very, very effective. Switching over to the Void Rays. Obviously, Dopa is definitely behind at this point in the game. I've got complete map control. I've got completely better economy. As you guys can see, 189 over 85. And so I'm gonna go ahead and make an all-out attack here, trying to end the game. And of course, during an attack, going two-pronged, dropping more Banelings once again into the back of this mineral line. Here we go. Kabloom goes the probes for the second time today, and doing a ton of damage at the front door of Dopa's base. But here we go. The Dopa Void Ray tech switch has arrived, and this is when I realized, holy crap, I have absolutely nothing to deal with this many Void Rays. And actually, I'm going to have to fall back my entire army here because, yeah, I've just got absolutely nothing. Although, I have done quite a bit of damage to Dopa's probe line. That last Baneling drop actually taking Dopa down to sub 20 probes. And so it is 60 harvesters to 18. And then I actually realized, you know, if you're in this position and you don't have any anti-air at all, you're near max, because I'm at 180 over 200, you might as well bring your roaches in, sacrifice them to the Void Rays, and try to do whatever damage you can. Take out whatever structures you can. And I was thinking, you know, let's sacrifice the roaches to clear up supply, and at the same time, try to take out all these Stargates, and keep that Void Ray number down. The Void Ray number currently at 13, so I am going to be able to pick off all of these Stargates, and keep that Void Ray number down to a minimum. And of course, all these roaches gonna sacrifice themselves, but I free up supply to make the counter unit, which is the Mutalisk or the Hydralisk. I didn't have a Hydralisk then, so I decided, you know, why waste time? Let's just make a bunch of Mutas. And I think I actually had them rallied over here. So all I had to do was just wait and make enough Mutas, and I would be in a decent position. Unfortunately, Dopa actually catching my Mutas once again. So at this point, the game was getting a little frantic. Because Dopa's Void Ray, actually, he had the much stronger army, and he actually just killed off a ton of my Mutas, and I decided, you know what, it's time to make the Great Wall of Spore, because I just didn't want to lose the game to a bunch of a quick Void Ray tech switch, and of course, Spore Crawlers are very, very good against Void Rays, and I'm also making this attack on this expansion to keep Dopa from getting a new, fresh source of income. And picking this off means that he will stay on one base. We're going to go ahead and switch over to my player camera view. As you guys can see, I am actually now down to one base, which is at the bottom right-hand corner. I've got units just everywhere all over the map, but I'm still trying to make something to deal with these Void Rays. And I do have a lot of Spore Crawlers, as you guys just saw there, but I'm trying to make mobile units. 5 Mutalisks, still not really enough. I'm going to need at least 20 Mutas to deal with that many Void Rays. And so if we switch over to Dopa's point of view, we can see that Dopa is actually struggling to rebuild all of his structures. So he is still very much behind, 51 to 91. But he still has this very, very deadly fleet of Void Rays. So the game, still not really sure who's going to win at this point. Mutalisks have pretty much all been taken out. And as you guys can see, my income not doing the best. I've got 281 to 600. To 300 minerals and 600 gas, that is, and that really isn't enough to make units that can deal with these Void Rays. And it looks like the last of my roaches are finally gonna get picked off. The Nexus somehow survives with just a sliver of health left. Oh god,